Rick Hale, Mojo Monday. How are you?
I'm awesome, Brad. Thanks. Good.
You know,
Good
I
morning.
realize
Happy Mojo.
we crank the tunes and it gets us going, and then we got to cut the music out because then YouTube will block us. But now I'm hearing you've got a challenge on the table, my friend. What is that challenge?
I'm gonna write a song, man. I'm gonna write a song, and I'm gonna get my band to play it or sing it, I should say. And
So we can play some original music and
yeah, we'll have proprietary music that's ours, man. Even though, I mean, I don't know how you do better than everything is a-okay, but
there
I
you
may
go.
have to borrow a little of the mojo anyway from Ty Verde.
That's all good. As long as you get us cranking, that's all I care about.
Yeah.
All right. So here's the deal. We're going to do a one-off series today, and it's really going to be about how to have a remarkable life. Why don't you frame our conversation today for us?
So it's not uncommon, Brett, that people set goals. And when they set goals, it's inspiring on the front end. The problem is people often miss their goal and then they reset their goal. Bob Kalinske once said, how many of you have had, if you've been in business 10 years, how many of you have had a 10-year career or 10 one-year careers? And implying that you just in this groundhog year cycle and you keep repeating. And so just through self-awareness and a tool that he actually shared with us a few years ago that I haven't used lately, I realized most of life's failures stem not from the opportunity or the goal. They usually, you tend to derail or fail because you didn't eliminate the inhibitors or things getting in the way. And you didn't make the path to your success clean or clear enough. And you left, there's road bumps and potholes and mountains and so what does it look like to take a kind of a reverse look at what a remarkable life is first, and then what's getting in the way of that remarkable life?
Yeah. So let's start with that. Frame up remarkable. I love the word remarkable. There's some great books around the word remarkable, but I mean, remarkable is not average. It's not, it's big, right? It's a big word.
Yeah, it's a big word. And so one of the books, by the way, just a plug for Dr. Randy Ross, such a beautiful human being. He wrote a book called Remarkable, and it's all about becoming remarkable and delivering a remarkable experience to your clients. So those that are listening that are in business and the people business, what a great book. So Remarkable, in my opinion, is just everything you want it to be. It's like your perfect life. It's like, you wake up and pinch yourself that you get to be you. And hopefully you feel some of that daily, but what would it look like to plus that so that remarkable becomes even better? And maybe you reframe remarkable and not average, and not, status quo, but stellar and above the norm, well above the norm. And I love the way you interview candidates and you want to get to the heart of where they're going. What does that look like?
Yeah, it's kind of framed up originally around helping people discover their big why, but it really is also dubbed as what's your remarkable life look like, right? And it's simply, hey, if we're sitting on a porch in your Zen spot at the end of your life and you and I are having a conversation and you make the statement to me, hey, Brett, I could check out a life tomorrow because I've done it all, checkbox. What do you got to do? And to some people, it's I just got to have a lot of love with my family around me. To some people, it's hey, I got to check out feeling like I made a difference in the world. I moved the world forward. But what's interesting about the exercise, Rick, is it tends to strip away some of the superficial that we tend to think is really important when we're doing goal setting. Like, right. Oh, I got to get that car. I got to get that, and at the end of life, I'm not sure that's the thing most people were thinking about. Right. And it strips it away. So it gives clarity around remarkable.
Yeah. And it could be travel experiences. And again, it often includes people that matter. And, it's a little bit morbid, but the twist on this is how would you want your eulogy to read as well? That's the step right behind. You're sitting on your porch at 90, reflecting on a life well lived. And so one thing's for sure, that if you can't define what remarkable is in the next season, and especially the end game remarkable, you're probably going to make decisions that are possibly not going to enable that outcome or not going to support that outcome. And then, the hardest thing to do, and we've watched this, it's football season, when teams get down in the fourth quarter, there's a certain amount of down that you don't recover. If you're down 2 or 3 touchdowns and it's, 5 minutes to go, there's a defeatist energy that you abandon your heartfelt dreams. And the idea today is to get re-railed in a way that, hey, I'm taking the next step towards remarkable so that I'm not down in the fourth quarter. In fact, I'm ahead and can drop the car into neutral and even coast.
Yeah. I mean, we don't want a 28-3 score at halftime, right?
Certainly don't want it in the fourth quarter.
You know, side note, poor Matt Ryan's football in the Hall of Fame is numbered 283, which is, I saw an article this week. Anyway, at the end of the day, a remarkable life. We're kind of using this thing called a 1-3-5, and if you've been around our world for a long time, you understand what a 1-3-5 is, and it's really a 1-year big goal, 3 priorities that need to happen in order to achieve that goal, and then what are the 5 strategies underneath each of those priorities in order to make those priorities happen? And it's really a business planning tool, and it's a nod to being on the same page and being on one page. But what we're going to pop up here in a minute is it's a twist on that, right? And it's not just a 1-3-5, but it's got a whole nother layer to it. Why don't I pop it up and then you just kind of walk us through it, Rick?
And just as a reminder, the reason the 1-3-5 is such a phenomenal tool is it takes this big idea, breaks it into 3, buckets, if you will, of potential. And then the 5 strategies are bite-sized pieces. And it kind of, it's a silly analogy, but how do you eat an elephant? And I don't know anyone that's actually ate an elephant, but it's one bite at a time. And so the idea is you break things into bite-sized pieces that become manageable, and your perception of capacity to do them goes up because they're manageable, and you might be able to do it. Most people in life are not marathon runners, they're sprinters. And so if you knock down the sprint effort along your strategies, eventually you'll hit the objective. And ultimately the 3 of those combined, kind of come from the silo of one big goal. And so the renegade, or the remarkable life, and I think Bob Kalinske coined it renegade, and I'm not 100% clear on renegade, other than it's the opposite of positive goal setting, although it is clearly positive. It's based on the 1-3-5. And step 1 is brilliant, because if you can't describe a remarkable life or the outcome you want, and this can be 6 months, a year, it can be 10 years, it can be when you're 90 on that back porch, the way you mentioned, and your assessment tool of getting to the heart of the matter, what really matters. You decide the duration and the time frame. But the most important thing is to get clear on where you want to finish. And then it's commonly known that, between 1 and 3 big rocks probably move the needle towards that effectively. And so the idea is you generate what are the 3 milestones, or the 3 big things that if they happened, it's almost undeniably likely that your remarkable life shows up, and the other pieces kind of fall in line with it in life. And so that's how it goes. But see, the interesting twist on this is that instead of going, here's the goal, here's the strategy to succeed, take a moment, recognize the milestone, and let your brain kind of fast forward. The odds are you've attempted this milestone or played in that sandbox. It's unlikely you've never, ever tried. And people fail often, not because they don't want the goal, but because something gets in the way. This form allows you to get really clear on what the inhibitors are, and what's keeping you from that goal. And often it's really the speed bumps, potholes, and mountains you have to climb over that keep you from the goal, not the actual behavior to get the goal, if that makes sense.
So let's break that down. So like we've talked about having a 10-year goal, or having a 10-year run, or having 10 one-year runs. And I think what you're talking about is having that 10 one-year run, meaning I'm doing goal setting, but I'm not really achieving my goals, but I keep going through the exercise. And maybe this is that moment in time where the word inhibitor is the word you need to hear today that says, hey, what's that thing in my life that's actually keeping me from hitting my goals that I'm ignoring, or it's my blind spot, or it's something that I'm unconsciously aware of. And to some people, I think it could be a limiting belief. I think it could be fear to some people. We did a whole series on atomic habits, and there's bad habits too, and the bad habits would be on the left side of this in inhibitors, and the good habits would be on the right side of this in solutions, right? But
it would.
Talk me through this.
Well, the easiest way to talk you through it is to probably give a real life example. And when I did this for the first time, I think it was new information, maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And I filled it out. And in the process of one of my milestones to, I wanted to write a book. I'm like, if you've had a life worth living, why not live a life that one day there's enough purpose in it and enough of stories, experiences, and something you'd want to pass down to your kids. Why not live that life? And that was in my mind. And I thought, well, the only way to document a life well lived is to write a book or script it or write it, because I don't think 3 or 4 generations from now, anyone can count on another human being that didn't live your life or live with you or near you to actually describe or, convey who and what you were and what you stood for. And so I wanted to write a book, but I was terrified because I'm not a writer necessarily. I don't have formal writing skills. So I wrote all the inhibitors. Interestingly enough, kind of like I said earlier, we all play in the sandbox of the milestone. I'd written a few, framed up the 12 chapters and what the topics would likely be, kind of wrote it. I started writing my childhood stories that I think apply to silver linings and how I became, what my mindset, how I developed it, if you will. But then I got stuck. And so the inhibitors were, one, I don't know that I'm an author. And so the answer to the inhibit for that is go read a few books that, feel, sound, and act like me and project myself and confirm that, hey, my story is at least that good. Maybe there is value. Or share a few chapters of your writings with inner circle friends to confirm it was something they would enjoy. And then what would be different if you didn't? And so the next one was, I don't really know how to frame up or structure a book, and I'm not real focused. So that's an inhibitor. And I had other things at the time. I was the OP. Obviously, it's a big job. It's hard to have 3 jobs when you're OP. That's really a singular job. And then, so the answer was, I need a ghostwriter or someone that can transcribe, because I'm better at communicating verbally than sitting at a keyboard for 4 hours. And so I went and researched and I investigated, and I found a person through a friend of a friend who had written his book with him, and wonderful person. So that was an enabling thing versus a disabling component. The third is I don't know how to publish. So I went and took a workshop, the answer. So the inhibitor was, I don't know how to produce and publish or distribute a book. So the answer to that was, at one of my events, I met a guy who'd written books and owned a company called Scribe Media, I think it is. And he was a 3-time bestseller and had an entourage of experts on staff. And I took a workshop during the COVID year. It was a couple of days, all day long. And they talked about what it looked like. And all of a sudden, my brain started connecting the dots, and the fear of the unknown started to go down when I realized it's not what I do, it's who I have on the team. So that's a good example. Three inhibitors that once I checked the box and kind of got my traction and confidence, everything moved forward. And now I'm, within a few months of production, the book's done, the graphics are done. It's just, supply chain delays to get the damn thing printed.
There you go.
But it took that exercise to get through that. I kept coming up with seasons and reasons to delay, defer, and deny the outcome, because life gets in the way. And if it's a milestone and it's tied to your remarkable life, you have to honor that. You have to honor it.
So what I'm hearing you say, just to reiterate, is in order for you to have a remarkable life, you wholeheartedly believe you needed to document a lot of this into a book to create a legacy or create a vehicle for your lineage to be able to know who you were, right? Yeah. And so you went through this exercise, and it was actually the empowering thing of learning what was in your way that caused you to achieve the goal more than the strategy of how to get it done.
Correct.
And
I had to remove limiting beliefs. This helps you remove limiting beliefs.
So we do a lot of coaching and training, and I think we talk a lot about strategies of how to achieve goals. But maybe today's message is, hey, yes, strategies are important, but let's take a look at what's keeping you from hitting your goals. And let's have one conversation, one powerful conversation around that, and see if that's the quantum leap that causes you to live that remarkable life.
Fantastic. Yeah. If you can
challenge me, Rick.
Well, if you can knock down the speed bumps, potholes, and obstacles, man, cars travel a lot faster and farther on smooth roads. This is a smoothing of your perspective around the road you need to travel to really hit that remarkable life.
Yeah.
So I think the challenge is take a deep breath, get really clear sitting on your back porch about what remarkable looks like at the end of the rainbow, and then back up and recognize the things that are inhibiting that experience or outcome.
My friend Rick Hale. Mojo Monday, sir.
Mojo Monday. We love you guys. Make it awesome.